So what if the gutsy entrepreneur in Africa could get directly through to the influential people he needs to get connections, get clients, and ultimately get capital? That was the question we posed when we started creating OneLeap. What if great entrepreneurs anywhere, whatever their background, could get through to people with resources? Now, it's a question I care about deeply because I have been that entrepreneur on the outside trying to get through for a long time. I was born in this country, but then I was raised for most of my childhood in the middle of the bush in Botswana, a little lone landlocked country in the southern tip of Africa. Now, it's a place that pretty much guarantees you're an outsider wherever you go afterwards, especially if you don't go to school and if your home looks like this. This was my grandmother's calf paying a visit to her bed. So when I eventually came back to the UK, made the journey that so many people make to big cities from all over the world, from small towns, whether in the country of the city they're going to or in another country. When I made that journey, I experienced directly the pain of trying to get a foot in the door, the amount of energy you expend, the amount of time you expend just to get heard. Because if you think of the entrepreneur's journey like scaling a mountain, you start off, it goes like this. You apply all this energy to your ideas, you refine them, you iterate. You get to the top. You think you're perfectly poised to make things happen, to speak to the people you need to make things happen, the influencers who have investment advice partnerships, and in particular offer clients. And then you realize there's still a chasm between you, because even in a hyper-connected world, and perhaps particularly because it's so connected, it's really hard to get through to people, because people are A, so busy, and B, our networks prompt us more and more to spend more and more time with people like us. Think what Twitter does. It says follow people like you. LinkedIn prompts you to connect with people similar to you. So if you're from the outside, very hard to get attention. So OneLeap, our platform, bridges this chasm. And we do that rather counterintuitively by enabling any entrepreneur on the platform, several thousand now, to get through to any of the influential people if they're willing to put down a small fee, typically the price of a few coffees. It's kind of like buying a virtual coffee. That shows they're serious. It allows the recipient to know that the person reaching out to them is serious. The twist is this: when the entrepreneur gets a reply, 80% of that fee goes to a charity chosen by the recipient. It sounds like a bit of a crazy recipe, but it's working. This is the platform. We've been creating connections for entrepreneurs all over the world. To get back to our gutsy entrepreneur in Africa, here's one. His name's Joel Jackson. He's building affordable vehicles for the continent. He used OneLeap to connect to investors in Europe. We have Ashika Damodar, who's got an innovative fashion business. She got through to people at Virgin and serial entrepreneurs who gave her invaluable advice. Dan Barelowitz, a social entrepreneur here who got through to several figures in industry and ultimately got connections that allowed him to get the right advice to put a policy proposal forward. He's trying to scale proven social impact models. These connections are all happening on a platform with people all over the world. And excitingly, the individuals, the influencers on OneLeap are now putting their profiles out into the web. Even more excitingly, though, they talk not about helping or giving back or raising money for charity. They talk about transformative, empowering, and serious connections. That's the executive chairman of an airline who's been contacted a number of times. A VP at Viacom talks about a two-way street. And this quote in particular points to what's been the most interesting experience for us in creating OneLeap. Because what we found is as we got entrepreneurs on our beta, and we're still quite young, we got to know a lot about the pain points for them. And yes, investment comes up, but the real killer is getting through to clients. If you're a B2B business in particular, the corporate world is opaque and incredibly hard to get a foot in the door in, because you don't know who the right decision maker is, you don't know where to start. So we put a lot of effort into getting individuals from companies on the platform in order to meet this demand from our entrepreneurs. And then something really strange started to happen. The people from companies would come to us and they'd say, look, we don't just want to wait to be contacted by entrepreneurs. Can you put us in touch with, here's an example, clean technology entrepreneurs in Brazil, or social entrepreneurs in the UK working in STEM? And we started doing this as a kind of favor to keep our corporate members happy for a while. And then we thought, no, there's something really exciting here. And we looked into it. And this, I think, illustrates the reason we're getting these requests. In the last 40 years, first half of it, big corporates controlled innovation. It's been a sea change since then, and now it's entrepreneurs that have the power. And companies need to get through to them because these are people who you cannot hire at any price because they're not for hire. They're building businesses. We started to make a lot more of these connections to entrepreneurs that we trusted, whose social graph we knew through our platform. And we found that there are these characteristics in particular that companies love and benefit from. Obviously, ideas from the outside, delivered by people who are charismatic and engaging. Risk-taking mindset, but you don't have to employ them. Incredible networks, people who can get things done immediately because they know who to ask and where to find resources at short notice. They're highly creative. This is actually from a slide I talked about several months ago, but I wanted to leave in that innovate to survive because that's in the DNA of entrepreneurs. And most importantly, they try things immediately rather than modeling them. They say not what resources do we need to do something, but what are the resources we have and what can we do with those first. So we've been doing a number of events and engagements introducing companies to groups of entrepreneurs, whether it's through innovation councils, tailored introductions, communities around verticals that are of particular interest to the company. And I just want to end with one anecdote from a conference we put together, which was so indicative of the opportunity here and also the challenge. And in fact, Jude Ower, who will be speaking later from Playmob, was one of the entrepreneurs in the room. So we had about 25 senior people from companies, about half of them multinational companies, and about 6 entrepreneurs in the room. And we were discussing innovation in companies. And one of the individuals from the corporate world said, well, we're really excited because we've just set up an internal Dragon's Den. And all the other people from big companies in the room were like, oh, what a great idea. We should definitely do that. That's amazing. You're getting your employees competing and you're going to spark lots of ideas. And the entrepreneurs in the room responded very negatively. They said, what are you doing creating a Dragon's Den? What are you doing creating an environment in which people compete before they collaborate, before they have the effect of drinking in a bar late at night, sharing ideas and evolving ideas? Because of course, as any entrepreneur knows, innovation is not about the idea, it's about developing the idea and evolving it. So we started from the premise that a world that's full of amazing entrepreneurs who lack connections, where it's 6 degrees of separation from anyone, isn't good enough. We wanted to build a world where it's one leap to anyone. And what we've realized in the course of that is that that's a world that's not only good for the person on the outside trying to get through, it's equally good for the person on the inside who has their door opened to the people who they wouldn't otherwise encounter, who are effectively building the future. Thank you.